fishing in Grand Teton National Park with my buddy Bruce. And we're fly fishing. When you fly fish, you wear waders and they come up to about here. So we get to go into the water and we're out in the water fishing. And I'm right about here and Bruce is upriver a little bit, about 50 feet from me. And then all of a sudden, we hear this loud noise behind us. And we turn and look, and comes roaring out of the woods right behind us are about 50 of these majestic beasts. These are elk. And they came down out of the woods into the river right between us, through the river and up the bank on the other side and gone into the woods. 50 at least. And I'm just staggered by what I had just experienced. In fact, I got goosebumps just remembering that right now. It was such an experience to have those wonderful animals get so close. And I was able to observe it and just be part of that nature. Now, they have lots of elk, herds of elk in Wyoming. And that's what I want to share with you today. Some of the wildlife, just some of the wildlife that's found in Wyoming. And large herds of elk are to be found. In fact, in Jackson, Wyoming, as many as 5,000, a herd of 5,000 elk come down into Jackson, Wyoming in the wintertime. But I had a herd of 50 come racing through, racing my heart too. But let me show you first where Wyoming is. It's above Colorado, you could say, if you know where Colorado is. That's an easy find. And we're right above it. But Wyoming is the least populated state in the United States. In fact, we have more antelope in Wyoming than we do people. But let me zoom in a little bit because I want to bring your attention to this up northwest corner right up here. And that's where Yellowstone National Park is. And Yellowstone has lots and lots of animals, all different types of animals. And you've probably seen or heard of some of the animals that are in Yellowstone. But here I am fishing again in Yellowstone because they allow fishing there as long as you let them go. It's called catch and release. And I had a boss that loved fishing. We were in Yellowstone fishing, and there were a number of us in the river, but I'm right here, and I have a lady next to me named Karen, and I'm fishing upstream and bringing my line down like this, watching my line, waiting for my strike from the fish, and I do it again. Then all of a sudden, Karen says, "George, stand still, don't move." And she says, "Look to your right." And I look to my right, and standing in the water right next to me is this monster. And this guy is a bison or a buffalo, as you may know. And these are the same bison and buffalo that gore people in Yellowstone National Park every year and sometimes kill people for getting too close. And here I am, maybe 5 feet away. Yes, I was scared to death. But I slowly backed away from him and got out of the water away. But I still remember that as if it happened yesterday. Let me take you back to my map again. And right next to me is this little town right here. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Pinedale, Wyoming. But you can see some other things in this map. You can see the Absaroka Range, the Wind River Range, the Wyoming Range, and over here, it's really called the Snowies and the Bighorn Mountains, all mountain ranges because the Rocky Mountains run right through Wyoming, as well as Colorado and Montana. But just north of Pinedale is the Wind River Range. And I spent the night in Pinedale and I'm driving north. I see this beautiful mountain range and I decide I'm going to stop and go take some pictures. I had a very good camera. And so I pulled my car off and there's a fence there and it had a nice little ladder that you could just step right over the fence on this ladder. but then there's still some bushes and some trees obscuring a good view of the mountain range. And I see that it's really a stream, a little, maybe 3 foot wide stream that's feeding those bushes and trees. So I decide, well, I'll just go on the other side of that stream and I'll have a good view of the mountain range. So what I do, in fact, let me show you here's what the mountain range looks like. Well, I come up to the bushes and the creek, and the little creek and the trees, and all I have to do is jump 3 feet to get onto the other side. So I go ahead and jump onto the other side, and unbeknownst to me, laying in the grass, and I didn't see him, is this guy right here, a moose. And moose get up to 1,600 pounds. This was a giant. Of course, he scared me to death. But luckily, I scared him to death because he jumped up and took off running. Now, moose, every year in Yellowstone National Park, end up trampling on people because they chase people down when they get bothered by us folks, and they'll run after them and trample them. So I was very lucky. So as my heart rate slowed down, I was able to take some absolutely gorgeous pictures of that mountain range. All right, I'm going to take you to another part of the state, and that's right over here. I hope you can see that little blue-green line right there. That's called the North Platte River. And me and my buddies, guess what we're doing? We're fishing. And we're wearing our waders. We're getting into the river. But here's what the North Platte looks like, a nice view of it. And unfortunately, that day, we were not having any luck. We're, again, fishing for trout. But as we're fishing, you have to keep changing your fly because you don't know what kind of fly or attractant the fish is interested in that day. They tend to go after the bugs that are on the water, so you have to get a fly that matches the bugs that are near the water. So and everyone else are changing our flies throughout the day. And I've already done 4 different flies, and I decide I'm going to put a 5th fly on. So I climb out of the river and get on the riverbank. And I just plop down in the grass there, right on the riverbank, and I have my legs splayed out a little bit. And I'm, like I say, I'm sitting on the grass, and I tie a new fly on. And when you finish tying a fly on your line, you got this little piece of string left over. And what most fishermen do is they just bite that string off, and I did that. And when I brought my hands down, I looked down, and between my legs was this. A diamondback rattlesnake had crawled between my knees, and I'm sitting on the ground right there. Now, you think I'm cool, calm, and collected? Oh, heavens, no. I panicked, and I don't know how I bolted out of there, but I somehow did. And I jumped up and I got away from him. Now, remember, I had just tied a fly on my line. So I poke the rattlesnake with my line, and he strikes my fly and gets hooked. And then he wriggles into the water. And now he's out in the water trying to swim away. And my friends see me with something on my line. They haven't caught anything all day. So they pull their lines in, they come down to see what I've got. And they see that I've got a 3-foot rattlesnake on the line. Now, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, Wyoming has lots and lots of animals, especially Yellowstone, including bear and wolf, and of course, many antelope, as I had mentioned early on. What I'm trying to get at, like Ken's conclusion, if you love wildlife and you want to see nature up close and personal, plan on putting Wyoming on your bucket list. You will never regret it. It's a wonderful place to go see wildlife. Madam Toastmaster.